It is Wednesday. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. Today's weather here. Shitty. Oh, yeah. Almost a 3-hour drive in. Why do we do it? We do it for you. Oh, we really do. Otherwise, trust me, neither Dave or myself would be in that car in, you would think, a country where people actually understand what happens with winter driving. But you know how that works. I don't care what part of the country you're in. There are people who look like they've never seen snow before. It was horrific. Which reminds me, as much as I love me Irish people who came here back at the turn of the century, the previous one, not the last one. When you got to New York, when you arrived and saw the Statue of Liberty, why didn't you just take a right? Why'd you go left? Just follow the road where the sun was. Why did my Irish relatives think it was okay to take a left? You could have stopped anywhere along the way. I might even take it to Virginia. I don't know if I'm doing West Virginia because I don't know if my family was proficient at inbreeding and musket shooting. But Dave, Georgia,
hey.
Would you like your family have been in Georgia?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
The Carolinas? They're
the
nice.
Carolinas are very nice, yeah. The only thing you got to worry about is the hurricane seasons and occasional, stuff that happens off of the Atlantic. But
I'll take it.
The weather.
I'll take it.
You can fight that, eh? Fight that off.
Let's go to this place where the snow is sideways and everyone's... Well, here we are. And we're here today for you, minus the lousiness of Skype, which apparently just doesn't want to work for us. We had Joe Bartnick, one of your favorites, one of Dave and my favorites. Like, he's just one of the great guys. And for some reason, it just doesn't want to work. So tomorrow, I think Skype is gone. We're going to try something new. You got a suggestion? Because I know people sometimes say, why using Skype? There are better methods to use via the internet in communicating with people. If you have an idea, certainly let us know, because I can guarantee you tomorrow, just like Michael Jackson said,
hee.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Make that change.
Oh, make that change. Yeah, he said that too.
Yeah.
But he also said hee.
Yeah. Oh, he said a lot of things. Like, would you like to come on my Ferris wheel? Don't do it. If a man with an imaginary face that changes every Christmas comes up to you with a chimp on his shoulder and some elephant bones in a bag and says, would you like to go on a ride? Don't take the ride. I'm just throwing that out there. That is my gift to you.
That's nice of you. It's almost like a PSA.
Remember that one with the man in the mirror? He cries at the end.
I don't. Trying to.
He's, not man in the mirror. I don't know. Something like whatever he cries. Oh, you're out of my life. Remember that? You're out of my life.
It's a pretty good impression, though.
Why? What are you doing?
Tell me you didn't want to dance like Smooth Criminal, though, where he arches forward like.
Oh yeah. Well, I saw Dick Van Dyke do that 40 years beforehand. So I'm going with Dick Van Dyke, and especially Mary Tyler Moore at that age. Ooh, I'm telling you.
You're okay with that, eh?
I watched the Dick Van Dyke Show for completely different reasons. Is it for Dick? No. I don't watch that show for Dick. This is a kind of a big moment, depending on your age group, in Ted the Viking from Blade Tape.
Yes, Blade Tape. Blade Tape.
By the
right
way,
here.
there he is, wearing the colors, Blade Tape.
Yep. This is a tribute to Ted and his team being 17 points out of third place in the Atlantic Division. So shout out to the Red Wings, one of the worst franchises in this next decade to come.
And after that backhanded compliment, it was 42 years ago tonight, that Daryl Sittler had the magical 10-point night. 10 points.
Magical.
Gretzky never did 10 points.
Nope.
Daryl Sittler did. It was, and it's actually come. I saw Frank Saravalli, who is a writer who also put stuff on TSN, and mentioned that a guy now has that jersey because Harold sometimes Well, it says he'd give them away. Something tells me he sold it. I don't think he gave anything away, to be honest.
No,
But for 42 years ago, one of the most magical nights in the history of the Maple Leafs franchise, and I believe what we're about to see, I will say, property of the National Hockey League, but really it's property of the hearts of the Maple Leaf fans.
50 to go. There's a drive that was stopped by Sittler's stick, and Sittler 3-on-2 with Lanny McDonald and Earl Thompson. They're closing in. Lanny McDonald. And then Earl Thompson intercepts to Sittler.
Earl Thompson, he had a big night too.
Drive for Ian Turnbull. There's the set. Salming over the line. Salming trying to cut in. Rolled it in front of it.
How about Salming on that play?
Earl Sittler. I think Sittler took that one right
Yeah.
out of the air. Sittler wins the draw. Boya Salmi still. Oh, hit the way in. Hold it.
Yeah, now that'd be a 5-minute replay.
At center. Over the line. Put the save.
Here's an old-style slap shot, eh?
The barrier. Back into Valaket. Valaket to Sittler. Reception.
Jack Valaket. Snowshoes.
And there's hat-trick in this period.
And there are those jerseys again.
Here in the second period. Harold Sittler. Long pass to Lanny McDonald. With Salming. Right in. And I believe Sittler will get another assist. Up to center. Pass for Sittler. Sittler getting into the field. Right in the goal.
What a night. And I remember watching it.
Pause again. Knocked it back at center. Earl Thompson to Sittler. Sittler over the line. Going right in. Speed rocket Richard's record. 9 points in the game. 5 goals, 4 assists. Into Darryl Sittler. Sittler first goal. Incredible. An amazing goal. Darryl Sittler.
Unbelievable.
10 points. That's a new record. As long as he lives, he'll remember this evening. So will all of us doing the game here at Maple Leaf Gardens.
There it was. 10 points, Dave Bastel. That's a night that not many will ever see in their lifetime,
Okay,
quite honestly.
trivia time. Pick up the microphone, Russell. So nobody in the NHL has ever scored 9 points in a game. I believe 9 players have scored 8-point nights, including Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. Name the last player to have himself an 8-point night, and it was rather recently, and the guy actually still plays in the NHL.
Sam Gagner.
See how we rehearsed that?
Wow. Now, we have the Rust Cam today, or is that not happening?
Not
No,
today.
Rust Cam
There
today.
were the things setting up before the show that I did not get the Rust Cam for today.
Oh, things are going well in the show.
It will be back tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes!
yeah, people are going to complain.
Or as Russ would say, hee hee.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I bet you'd be in that Ferris wheel.
Oh, big time.
Trust me, that ride, it went just a little too long for some. Yeah, you did not want that. Why are we stopping? Well, we're at the very top. No, you don't want it. So there it is. That's a magical night for the Maple Leafs. And now I know there's also a story about the goaltending situation that night.
Yeah. Jerry Cheevers had the night off, so to
Yeah.
speak, and he wasn't going to go in no matter what. Just returning from the WHA, and Don Cherry did him a massive favor and made the other guy not so good. But the guy's still getting pressed for it to this day.
Yeah, I'm sure he loves that.
To his credit.
Yeah, good for him.
Just saying.
Things that we also want to cover here this morning, by the way. It just looks in a way that I didn't see the East going this year in the National Basketball Association. That is Cleveland. Maybe this is the year that kind of the world catch up. I look at what the Raptors did last night, and here's what you need to know about your Toronto Raptors. The bench, or the second unit, as they like to call it.
Is awesome.
They're awesome in all areas. You got Van Vliet, who offensively is killing it.
It's great.
But defensively, they play with a certain energy. It literally looks like after the starting five come off, they get a bunch of guys from Butler, or I don't know, like a young, very How about Virginia? It looks like the Virginia Cavaliers come in and they crush it defensively. That second unit could be the reason that this team goes maybe further than they have before in a year where, for whatever reason, Cleveland cannot get it together. The second best team, or we consider it, or if you want to look at it that way, the Boston Celtics. The Celtics did not have fun last night at the ACC. The reason? Second unit Raptors. You want to take a shot on this? Think you got a nice easy layup? Go ahead, try it. By the way, property of the National Basketball Association, the Raptors, NBA Broadband Properties, and broadcast by TSN.
Disciplined defense. Tice on the inside. Lays it off, and Siakam says no, not here.
Just blows by people. Explosive.
Father played in Boston for the Boston University Terriers. Airs a bucket and a slam dunk.
Turn of events and give the Raptors
Watch this.
And their rebounding play.
Wow!
That was basically what you saw all night. The Raptors take them out. I think eventually they win by 20 points, but that game was never close. And the defense, I know people are sick of hearing it, but defense usually tends to win championships. Even though you want to talk about Golden State and what a great offense they have, if you talk to basketball people, they're still going to tell you they get stops when they need to get stops. That's the transition game. That's why Golden State wins. And if the Raptors play like that, I don't know. I mean,
well, you want a live look at yesterday's Raptor fan watching that game at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go.
Now we go live. To the look.
Thank you. 3, 2, and 1. Maybe this is the year we lose to the Golden State Warriors in 4 games. I'll get back to you.
That reenactment brought to you by Esso Imperial Oil, the gas of kings. I have no idea.
Well, that's good. Well, they should use that.
Yeah, I know they should.
They'd be stupid.
Well, why you call it Imperial?
Thank you.
If you're not going to Kings, that's all I'm saying. But man, oh man, you've got a change philosophically on what they want to do with three. So it's a little bit of a, well, maybe it's a great differential between this year and last year. But man, when that's why people say, well, sixth man of the year. Why is that so good?
Oh,
well,
it's very good.
It's not only exceptional, but what happens if you have
Just
6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? I mean, you collectively have all these sixth man of the year coming off, and that bench looks fantastic. Van Vliet looking like he did with the Shockers at Wichita State. I'm really excited to see the kind of ball that they're playing. It was nice to see a reward for how much time has gone into. I'm saying having patience with the team. It seems each and every year there's a question about Dwayne Casey, which for Dave and myself, I think I can speak for us, Dave, kind of sickens us because we're kind of Casey guys. I think he's a very accountable man. I think he's a good basketball person. I think he's the type of guy that can still mentor even though they're professionals. And this is the day and age where the professionals are still kids. If you're a one and done or you've played a couple of years, trust me, you're still a kid. If you're 20-something years old, we've been 21-something years old. We're idiots at this point. Except these guys are getting tens of millions of dollars. There's a lot of pressure on franchises to do something yesterday. And yet, the Raptors, for the pressure that's been on them, for what's perceived as sometimes a year where they step back, they're winning a crap load of games this year. And right now, it's that second unit. And Dave, maybe, just maybe, even if you went to a final, if you could go to, and even if you get blown out by a Golden State, I would think even just getting to a finals is a huge accomplishment.
Oh, massive.
I do.
Massive. Look at that bench yesterday. 31 minutes, 25 minutes, 25 minutes, 24 minutes, 15 minutes. Norm Powell, who is, I know he's fallen in and out of favor with this team, only played 4 minutes yesterday. And I just named off 5 players that played 15 or more minutes coming off the bench. 4 of them played at least 24 minutes coming off the bench. It's unheard of when you see DeMar only playing 29 minutes, Kyle playing 25 minutes, basically taking off the fourth quarter against the Boston Celtic team.
Yeah.
Really? This is massive this is the best chance the Raptors have in the history of the organization to actually win the Eastern Conference, and it's fantastic. I think it's awesome. It would be a complete failure if they don't go to the conference final.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
I believe when you put this kind of time into it, after a certain amount of time, the window closes. That's really, I talked about it a couple of years ago. How long do you allow that cycle to go? Because you get to what I would think is literally a sports precipice where you're thinking, if we don't go over this point, we We're going nowhere. And for my money, taking a look at the power and the kinds of athletes that were on Cleveland and have been on Cleveland, starting with LeBron, there's no way that I would ever put the Raptors, for the most part, in that category. And I got to be honest, if you haven't changed your mind, you haven't watched a lot of the association this year, because right now that is some tremendous team play that you're seeing from the Raptors, and you're seeing team defense. And again, that second unit, that's the difference from being a kind of okay one-round winner in a playoff to maybe winning a conference final. And right now, again, it's way too early to be calling that kind of stuff. But if I'm looking at the trends, if Cleveland – look, when you hear LeBron publicly saying he would never waive his no-trade clause, but you're talking about people saying what? He would leave? He would be traded? Because the insinuation before all the year started is just how many guys are going to the Lake Show next year, and that's why that does come up.
I think 17 players are going to the Lake Show.
Well, I think after the league, it's like, can I come too? No, we only have so many spots, really. So, look, of the names that I think after last night that we're talking about, I would think Porzingis might even lead that category. He suffers a torn ACL.
Brutal.
And for their best player, and really the only thing they have almost single-handedly going for them, out. Like, what is it like being a Knicks fan? I mean, it's got to suck.
Oh, big time. You're happy Phil Jackson has finally left. And if Phil would have had his way, Porzingis would have been gone too. Which could you imagine yourself in that situation if you're a Knicks fan? You know what? There's a long road for the Knicks to actually accomplish what they want to accomplish. They haven't been relevant since Patrick Ewing, and we know how long that was.
That has been a long time ago. You're watching rawmike.richards.com, either on the website or the dedicated YouTube channel. And for those of you who download it and listen on iTunes, TuneIn, Google Play, we appreciate that. Remember to subscribe, as I see that you have been doing, to our site. If you're watching on YouTube, look for my little head there, click on it, and you are in. We appreciate that. The easiest way to watch the show. What was easy? Well, I think for a lot of Colts fan, they thought probably Josh McDaniels was their next head coach.
Oops.
Whoops. So what do you make of that? It's a weird situation that it's not that it's never happened before. But if you're the Colts organization, you were so positive that this was going to be a reality. Twitter, your social media, they had set up a press conference. So how embarrassing is it that this is the guy that you thought was coming, now not coming? I guess the Colts got a little bit of the Julia Roberts. It was a Kiefer Sutherland. So Kiefer Sutherland left on the altar. That's not very good for the current designated survivor president of the United States, or the ultra-tough 24 Jack Bauer, Kiefer Sutherland.
True.
Left at the altar back when Julia Roberts was kind of the thing.
You know what's funny, though? The Colts and the Patriots have always had a hate-hate relationship. And I have a feeling that Robert Kraft just sat there and thought, I'm going to stick it to him one more time.
See, because I've heard that too. I've heard that this was like a rich guy's payback moment.
Big time.
Because they could have signed Josh McDaniels any time.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like, boop.
Nope.
Ha-ha, Kiefer Sutherland. You were at the altar, and Julia Roberts is with Lyle Lovett, or that country singer who looked like his face got squished by an elevator.
Some poor decisions from Julia Roberts. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Anyway, but yeah, that's a scenario, and I think that whether or not it comes out or not publicly, what has happened here is Josh McDaniels has a massive raise, maybe a little bit of a promise that when Old Man Winter leaves, you're my guy. It makes a lot of sense for him. I'm just saying that once Tom Brady leaves, I think Bill Belichick will leave as well. So you kind of have your new foundation coach in place that kind of knows the tradition of what the Patriots have built up over the last 15, 20 years. Do they have a chance to do the same? Probably not, because they just got rid of the best thing that could have replaced Tom Brady by making that mistake.
Yeah, there are some questionable moves that, still the Malcolm Butler thing's not going away.
Yeah.
And to think that, if you're really seriously not going to play the guy, then why was he on a special teams play? Why was he dressed? Like there's a lot of weirdness, and I think a lot of it, you talked about it the other day. You talked about ego, proving that you're a little smarter than everybody else. And at this point, this kind of reeks of ego, which is a terrible way to and maybe not single-handedly that's the reason they lose the Super Bowl. Look, I still think they were outcoached. I still think they were outplayed at almost every level of the game. I still think Philadelphia on that day was by far the superior football team on that Sunday. I don't know if that's the single reason, but if you've taken off a guy who has played 98% of the snaps on defense,
Makes no sense.
then your game play is to take him out. That's the play.
Makes no sense.
I don't see it unless it's ego.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that, and it's almost like we're going to do this in spite of you. We're going to do this without you, and you're going to watch us do it. And it's like, if I'm Malcolm Butler, not only am I pissed, not only have I basically confirmed that I will not be back next year, but I might even be happy about the situation just because, Doofus decided to do this, and this is what happened. So to conclude on the McDaniels thing, too, good news if you're a Colts fan, and we do know one Colts fan out there in Canada.
Do we? I don't know.
Yeah,
one.
Coach Frank.
Why? Okay.
Yeah, Frank Reich is being interviewed for the position. And when you look at the big picture, Josh McDaniels, Frank Reich for the head coach position, I'm taking Frank Reich. I know he was up for a couple of jobs in the last couple of years. He never screwed up the Broncos like somebody else did. He's kind of built himself up since being a backup to Jim Kelly. He almost seems like he would be that next big thing, and I think he could do wonders considering it's an offensive mind coming off a Super Bowl win, turn Nick Foles into what we've seen today, and now he gets to work with Andrew Luck if he's healthy.
Now
it's a good move for the Colts if that's the case, and I think Frank Reich will take that job.
Now, you bring up a bunch of points, but one of them, as you mentioned, is, what is the status of Andrew Luck? Because remember, they're very secretive at that point for very obvious reasons, and the kind of money and this generational quarterback that we've been waiting to see. Now it's about a little bit about honesty, about really how healthy. Like, does Josh McDaniels, did it play into it where he goes, you know what? I don't know if this guy's going to be able to play or not. And look, the reason even the hoodie looks so good is because of number 12. So if you don't have that quarterback, you may not want to leave. So I'm just really curious to find out just how much football is left in Andrew Luck because of injury, not because of obviously age, because he's hardly played. I mean, you talk about a generational player. You start putting yourself into a category of how many games all these quarterbacks play where they're a target on every single play. So when someone said, hey, kicker played 10,000 games in a row. Yeah, I get that. A lot of guys talk about these longevity records. Talk to me when you're a linebacker. Talk to me when you're – so if you're Brett Favre, every single play, there are guys on the other side of that line who literally want to end your life. And you get the ball, by the way, every single play. Andrew Luck – he hasn't played that long.
Nope.
We haven't seen that much.
I think that's part of the interview process. If it's Frank Reich or if it's somebody else in place, they want to know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, don't skim.
It's basically, and you could atone for this because you understand where I'm coming from when I say this. It's almost like former WWF superstar manager Slick, who is known for saying, "Honesty is the best policy." That's what he wants to know.
And I think that's exactly how Josh McDaniels said it when he was leaving. So I guess Jim Irsay, let's do a little more honesty.
Thank you.
Okay.
And who doesn't like Slick?
Speaking of Slick, we could only show a picture yesterday, and if you haven't seen it, and I'm not going to show a ton of Philadelphia. Look, it's the first time they win, as they call it, a world championship.
You know what's funny about the horse stuff that you're about to talk to?
Yeah.
Frank told me yesterday, Coach Frank told me, if the Leafs win a playoff round, he's doing the same thing.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe there's an Isugo on it, Do we have it started in the right place? Because this is, once again, yeah, so we'll look at this. We're going back to the kid here. Gets down on all fours, puts his face right into the poo.
I don't get that.
As people are like, eat it. It reminds me, by the way, of every party I went to in like grade 12 in Stoll, Ontario. I'm thinking, is this disgusting? Is it terrible? No, it's probably something I've seen before. But you know what? I don't know if I've quite seen this. Once again, we revisit the excitement of championship win, therefore, boy eating poo. Eat it. There he goes. And I'm still thinking about it. Eat it. Eat it. Listen to that crowd. Oh, but see, when his face comes up, that's what gets me. And the crowd goes crazy. That moment brought to you by Mandarin Buffet.
Very similar. I'm joking.
Chinese New Year. Gung Hee Fat Choi. No poo here. Only food. Less poo. Why boy eat poo when you got chicken ball and ribs? Barbecue rib better than poo. $8.95. All you can eat.
It's debatable.
Yeah. That is just so. But let's be honest. Philadelphia, filled full of charming moments. Now we know back in the late '60s when they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. They actually did like an HBO behind the a 30 for 30 whatever it is. But I've seen a documentary on the guy who dressed up as Santa.
Not as good as the Ric Flair documentary.
And, well, no, but
woo!
You get drilled with snowballs when they go, ladies and gentlemen, Santa Claus. Like who goes after Santa?
I know.
It's Philadelphia. And by the way, when it snows in Philadelphia, this from I believe 2009, it had snowed, which is just bad news. Get a load of the snowball fight in the stadium that goes on for quite a while. And if you go to one of these games, let's say you got kids, because some people do take kids. I don't know if that happens in Philadelphia. But if you're not paying attention, I bet an ice ball feels good. Get a load of this insanity, courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles fans. Now, if you're watching the show, it looks like the movie Elf. When he throws like machine gun-like snowballs. Look at it. There's thousands of snowballs being pelted. Philadelphia, one of the tougher towns that you go to.
You think so, eh?
When Jeff Garcia played.
Home of the worst hockey team ever.
For the Eagles. So when he plays for the Eagles, I heard because, of course, he had that connection to Calgary.
Guys.
It's like, they're yelling at me now, and I'm on their team. Yeah, I know. No, that is a brutal, brutal place to play. And again, it depends. If you're a Giant fan, if you're a Cowboy, I mean, there's a lot of animosity between, that divisional play and the fans itself. But I got to tell you, okay, how crazy does it get? This is before the game starts. This is before the game starts in Minnesota. So you've got these, and they're really young, by the way. This is not like 30 and 40-year-old guys, a couple of buddies going. This is like barely, it looks to me, barely out of high school. This is Eagle fan versus Eagle fan. And what I've seen it a couple of times, people telling me about it. There's some people who write about it saying, do you notice that the one guy who gets in the fight has a Glock on him, tucked in his belt? By the way, that's the guns the police use. But apparently it's okay not only to shout out and talk smack to the other fans who are wearing different jerseys.
There you go.
But it's okay also to do it to another guy wearing an Eagles jersey. So he chucks a beer bottle. The name calling. And he goes, that's it. Here we go. Eagles fan on Eagles fan. Kicking, which is always very... See, it's that kind of garbage where I look at it and there I know people who won't. And I'm not saying that the Bills games are like that, but they can be. NFL games can be
Bills
sloppy
fans,
as hell. And my brother said, I'm not going down again. He doesn't want to go.
No, I haven't been to a Jets game in Buffalo for probably 4 years, just because of the garbage that happens in Buffalo and just getting in and out of that dump and that dumpy stadium and that dumpy crowd and the losers that hang out outside of there and the jerks that sit there and point to me in my Jets green jersey. I mean, screw off and your crappy team that's going to fold soon and move somewhere else. I can't wait for the Bills to move, and I'm going to be happy when that day happens. Okay, back to you, Mike.
That comment here brought to you by the Mandarin. The Mandarin. Chinese New Year. Gung Hee Fat Choi. Why are you so mad? Come in for spare rib, chicken ball. Stop eating poo. Stop punching face. Come get fried rice. That wasn't offensive at all. Whatever.
By the way,
Yeah.
Rusty fake news reporting this morning that Greg Schiano is not going to go up for the Patriots DC job. He is staying at Ohio State. So that's from the Rusty news desk on Rusty AM.
Well, you know what? It's Ohio State, great program. You're working with the vest, which is always good. And, well, I guess it's Urban Meyer now. But to make the jump back into the pros, it better be the perfect situation. So do you really want to go to New England? Be the guy after Bill Belichick? Like, think about it.
Well, he'd be replacing Matt Patricia, right? So because Patricia takes over the Detroit Lions head coaching position, but it's basically.
But aren't they thinking that one step away from Bill and whoever these guys going in at some point is going to be perhaps a head coach?
Well, it's Josh McDaniels, right?
But like you said, are people forgetting some of the other stops?
No, I know.
Like it's. I'll tell you. I think it's the
most.
I mean,
because honestly, when Belichick leaves and Tom Brady leaves the Patriots, is the Patriot job
the one you want?
The one you want? Because I'm sorry, Patriot fans, when number 12 leaves, as Hulk Hogan once said to Hercules Hernandez in a Royal Rumble back in the 1986 January Royal Rumble, don't slip and fall, brother, because it's a long way down. It's going to be a long way down for the Patriots.
See, I didn't realize all the.
He said that to Andre the Giant as well.
Andre
the Giant coming up on HBO special in April. We're going to have the producer on our show in March because that's the way Bastel works.
You know, there are things happening in this world, Dave.
We're all over the place today.
We're all over the place today.
I think it's the weather.
Like I was looking at my my cousin. So Kevin Bowers. He's the one that we had on the show when the hurricane was coming to Florida. And then he goes, "Hey, I'm just getting ready for the," or what his son called it, the SpaceX, this Elon Musk billionaire guy.
Yep.
And so he called the rocket a BFR.
BFR.
A big rocket.
Big effing rocket.
Yeah. So this is what he's saying.
Yeah.
So it's the Falcon Heavy. Now here's what is crazy. Every of the freak science fiction movies you watch, they look ridiculous. It is. You remember when Arnold takes a vacation, the Mars vacation?
Oh yes, Total Recall.
Total Recall. It's
yeah.
like go to Mars and have a great time. And
Richard Dawson was in that movie too.
No, that was.
Was he the other guy?
The game show one, Running Man.
Oh, that was. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah, because Arnold was Richards.
That's true.
He goes, they're betting on Richards out there.
I do.
This one, it's like everything else. You go on a spaceship, you get a weekend on the moon. Well, guess what? Because of that launch yesterday, Elon Musk and SpaceX has now, Dave, taken a reservation next year by a couple, a reservation to go to the moon. Like they're not going to land. There's no swimming pool. There's no Motel 6 or anything.
So what do you get to do?
But you get to go in space.
Okay.
You get to circle the moon. You're going around the moon in a spaceship, now taking reservations.
And what's this cost somebody like us if we were interested in taking the show to the moon?
Elon Musk sells out flamethrowers in 4 days after $10 million in sales. Flamethrowers. He, by the way, lets this rocket go yesterday.
Okay.
From the Kennedy Space Center. To leave something in space, it's a Tesla, a red Tesla. He says his old one. There's a mannequin in it who's playing on loop in the car in space David Bowie music.
Oh, ground control to Major Tom. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm floating in the air.
You got to know you are rich when Dave and I are sitting around and I got a little drink and I'm going, you know what? Wouldn't it be fun? I'll get a rocket and I'll send it into space. I'll put my Tesla in it and I'll dump it out with the guy playing David Bowie music. And then I'll take reservations. People go around the moon.
Love it.
This is like real. Yesterday, this is from the Kennedy Space Center, I believe courtesy of CBC News. Elon Musk and his toy. When they start announcing 30 seconds to lift off, the crowd goes crazy. Because in our generation, for me anyway. Space, moon travel. Like at some point, after a period of time, someone's like, we're launching something into space. We're like, yeah, we've seen it. We know. It's not that big. It's the moon. We can see the moon. Like people go on it. They played golf. They have played golf on the moon. Mm-hmm. Like really, when you think about it, this is how man-ish. This is how guy space travel is. We put a guy on the moon, and he brought a car, and he played golf. He drove around, and then he started driving golf balls. Who came up with that? Mm-hmm. It was a guy. Now it's a millionaire dropping off cars and taking reservations in case you want to go to the moon.
So he's leaving the car on the moon?
No, in space. He just drop it off in space. Oh. It's just floating around in case an alien comes by and goes,
I should have done that.
Are you kidding? David Bowie? It's my favorite. You know what I mean?
I should have done that with my old Civic that I got rid of.
Yeah, then they go, a very primitive race, these ones. But a red Tesla. Here's the launch yesterday and the excitement of the crowd. This is actually pretty cool.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Woo! But first, kiss.
Launch director on countdown 1. SpaceX Falcon Heavy, go for launch.
That would be cool to be there. Wouldn't you want to be there?
Falcon Heavy is configured for flight.
T-minus 15, stand by for
Cape Canaveral.
You have been there?
Yeah.
I think Zakino was down there. I think he's down there now.
8.
He's at Pebble Beach.
Oh, he's at Pebble Beach?
Come on, the countdown's on.
Yeah, here we go.
3, 2.
Here we go. Did we fill up with gas? What? Look at this. Apparently one of the fans so excited he is eating horse poo as this rocket is heading skywards. That is crazy. And if you want, you can make a reservation. Maybe not for 2018. Maybe it's already sold out.
Yeah.
That is just nuts.
I like the idea of the David Bowie.
That is cool. I saw that. I thought that was pretty good.
Because I'm singing along with that one for sure.
If you had...
No, I wouldn't. I have no interest in
You had sick money, right? So you're rich money.
I'd buy the Winnipeg Jets. Next question.
All right, well, that's... Here's something from Coach Frank. If you thought Philly was bad, not as bad as the video of crazy fans in Winnipeg when Jennifer Jones wins the Scotties. Watch your blue bins, everybody. Oh, is there a thing? Riding in Winnipeg after Jennifer Jones won?
Well, just take a look at it.
Well, I can't now. But,
okay. So basically, dude takes a curling broom.
Yeah.
And knocks over the blue bin and walks away.
Well, that's riding to a degree here in Canada.
They don't want to damage the most beautiful city in Canada.
Yeah.
So.
Well, unless you're in North Winnipeg, and then how would you know?
Yeah.
How would you know? It looks like a penal colony. That was not my favorite part of Winnipeg, I can tell you that.
I don't blame you.
I liked Brandon. I kind of thought
Brandon
was fun. I like
I've been to Brandon many times. Good hockey town. Good Western Canadian hockey town. I think Manitoba should have a couple WHL teams, but it's only Brandon right now. So you know what? And on that note, I know you're interested in this because I could tell.
Well, does it have to do with a girl, a lost girl, in a liquor store? Go ahead, continue. I'm listening.
They are interested in bringing a Western Hockey League team to Winnipeg because they want to rekindle what they had before. When I was a kid, the Winnipeg Warriors, because a lot of people don't know this.
No, you know what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a Winnipeg Warrior team, and then they sold that, and it went off west to become the was it the Lethbridge Warriors? No, Swift Current Warriors. It was one of the teams out west. Kept the Moose Jaw Warriors.
Oh, Moose Jaw, yeah.
So they're wanting to bring a team back.
It makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's like, man, that would be 3 high-level teams in Winnipeg for such a small market. But they do support.
They would support
program.
You know what the thing is too. But if you're Brandon, if you're Winnipeg, this is junior hockey. They take a bus.
Yeah.
That's
far, man.
Oh my God. Darren Dreger talked about when he used to cover the team and sleep on the bus. Yeah.
Victoria, Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Winnipeg Warriors, because that should be the name of it. I don't know if that would be the name of it. And you're doing the what are you going on a 2-month road trip?
Well, you're living on that bus.
Crap.
Even think if you're playing Lethbridge.
Yeah.
Or as you mentioned, Moose Jaw.
Prince
Albert.
Yeah, when I lived in Calgary, I made the trip back home to Winnipeg a couple of times. If you do it in one swoop, God bless you. It's tough. It's about 16 to 17
hours.
hours.
It's a tough drive.
So
that's a tough drive.
I'm just saying it's pretty serious stuff. And out west too. You kind of when you're driving, you've done this. You've done it a lot further than me because you've done it from here. When you hit northern Ontario to the early stages of Alberta, it's like you're driving through the same exact thing because the scenery is identical.
You just got to get my Thunder Bay experience.
Oof.
But once you get through like Dryden, like all that area, once you get on the other side of where you would turn off and go to Winnipeg and continue to go straight, because you're kind of in still at that part of Manitoba. For people in Ontario, it almost looks like Muskoka. Like there are beautiful lakes in there. There's beautiful cottages in that area, and you're like, where is this? Because if you don't travel it, you don't see it. And then once you get on that side, then it's like straight flat driving for days.
It is
what it feels like. It's a long drive.
It's a long drive. It's tough to do, but I recommend it to anybody to at least do it once.
Do it once. But don't do what I did. Don't do it in the winter. See, this was a bad idea. The January-February drive north of the Superior, not the smartest thing I thought of. Like in Thunder Bay, I was just those horrible prostitutes. We've talked about this.
Yep.
I just didn't want to be taken that way. Maybe the last one, just say I'm pretty. But all I'm saying, just toss me a compliment. But it got a little scary. Speaking of scary, getting back to just the what happened to the Super Bowl, LeGarrette Blount. So a lot of people kind of know his career a little bit, right? And he has had some difficulties from time to time. He looked like a beast, by the way, on Sunday.
Oh, he looked great.
That was very impressive. Tampa Bay, there was some issues there. I think he's found a home in Philadelphia. But, of course, me being an Oregon Duck fan, the one thing that stood out to me, I get it that he was a beast, but the other thing about it was there was a fuse that he has had. Now, I hate Boise State, too, like a lot of people. Their Smurf turf is enough to make anyone not like you. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the turf they use on their field for Boise State is blue. It is really hard to watch football. Can you imagine Oregon's uniforms on top of blue turf?
Oof.
Like it's just, and then the blue and the orange of Boise, it was terrible. This was a game that went south for the Ducks. Very disappointed, a lot of frustration, and a lot of chirping by Boise State. At the end of the game, LeGarrette Blount had lost it as bad as I've seen, certainly up to that time, as any player I've ever seen in NCAA sports. So, property of the NCAA, property of Pac-12, broadcasters, ESPN, and their broadband properties. Okay, so I'm naming them all. Here is, and you got to see this, LeGarrette Blount. This is his last year that he plays for the Ducks, and this is post Boise State defeating them. And LeGarrette Blount not only took on players from Boise State, but his own team.
Still a lot of animosity on the field, not between teams, but between teammates.
Watch this punt.
It all started with Blount right there.
Oh.
He should be ejected for next week.
Look at
Chip Kelly, he
that's
may be ejected
unbelievable.
Right there.
LeGarrette Blount nailing Byron House right on the chin.
I've never really seen that. Watch it. Watch 94. Boom. And down you go.
Nailing House. That is unconscionable, reprehensible behavior. There's no excuse.
I've never really seen a shot like that. Generally, guys have their helmets on.
We started this football game
I mean,
with a symbolic handshake.
This
to
is
start the college football season on good.
This is sometimes why I talk about maturity levels when guys go from the NCAA massive programs to pro. In some of them, a lot like basketball, you're a one and done. So you're playing high school. You're playing high school in, I don't know, or at a prep school. 1 year with, at Kentucky. I'll pick out sort of the one that did, Coach Cal. And then the next year, you've got all those millions of dollars. And look at you. You're really not that much different from the guys you played high school with. You haven't had the mentoring of a Tom Izzo or a Coach K or even a Coach Calipari, who I really, really like. Some of the great coaches in NCAA sport. A man of, a lot of years of experience that can maybe pass on in the day. It was a mentorship, which is why I talk about Dwayne Casey. If Dwayne Casey were a coach at a big-time program and our kids were good enough to actually go to a school where he was the coach.
Ideal.
That's where my son's going. My son or daughter. That's where they're going.
Yep.
If he's the man, then I'm going there.
Yeah.
But some of these guys, Dave, they just, I think, don't get the mentoring that they need to be professionals. And I mean just as human beings. Sometimes they got to grow into their bodies. A lot of the football players don't. I understand that. But, Dave, I just that's why I think I look at NCAA sport, and I think the lack of domination that we see consistently from some of the schools where you basically would put out seniors on the football field, or you'd have like at least 2 or 3, 4 seniors on a basketball team. I can't remember the last time that I can remember that, which is why the mid-majors and some of the smaller schools where guys stay, like a Wichita State, Ron Baker and Van Vliet, that's why sometimes those schools are so damn good, is they got guys who played with each other for 3-4 years.
It's true.
I miss that. I do miss that.
No, well, that's the thing. And you hear the argument made a lot of times where eventually there has to be some sort of rule put in place where wherever a player goes, he has to stay longer than the 1 year. Now,
I wish that too.
To a degree, I wish that would happen. But then, are you preventing the player from earning an income?
Well, that's exactly, Dave, what has happened. So these players who have made that jump and made all their money, now I'm turning around to you and I'm saying, oh yeah, but you got to go to school for 2 years before you can get that money.
Yeah.
They're like, you didn't.
No, exactly.
And that's why it's not. That's why I don't know if it'll ever change, which I think is a shame. I think it's too bad, and I think it's wrong. I think it has depleted what was really good basketball, and look. That's why March Madness, when you see the 1 through the 64, I guess it is now, when you start seeing those seeds and you start saying, well, okay, well, they're a number 1, they're a number 2, if you watch a lot of basketball, you really throw them out. Throw that seeding out, because at some point, someone can make a run. It could be a mid-major, it could be a smaller school, maybe not the biggest program that you're familiar with, and all of a sudden you're like, well, how could that happen? They're a 10. Well, they're a 10 only because of seeding the way they think these teams have come in based on a season where they never played each other.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a series of one-offs, and anything can happen, which is why March Madness is one of my favorite things. College basketball as a degree is I just love it. So once again, looking back on the show today, 42 years ago tonight, it was Daryl Sittler, the 10 points. And again, you know what was interesting is if there were certain clips I could have used. One of them was my Uncle Guy, my late uncle.
Very
Gunnar
cool.
Kinnear putting the towel around Daryl after, I don't know, maybe his 8th point or
Yep.
What do you think about it? Do you realize, and again, you said, what was it, Gagnon just did it? What? How long ago was Sam Gagnon do that?
Sam Gagne did it.
Or Gagne,
what
sorry.
was it, about 3 years ago, Rusty? 4 years ago? Yeah, it was with the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? Was it with Edmonton?
Yeah.
Okay, then may have been longer then, because that guy's tossed around.
Okay, so if we're seeing an 8-point night, someone capable of, let's say, an 8-point night,
Yeah.
who's the top of that list?
8-point night?
Who is capable of putting that many in? Is Austin Matthews capable of an 8-point night?
No, Connor McDavid is the most likely player to score 8 points in today's NHL. I would
But even
say.
still, it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think on any given night, though, your superstars that we talk about, your Austin Matthews, maybe a Steven Stamkos, maybe it's weird because when you think of all the players out there, that Sam Gagne's the last one. It's like, well, that should open up the door for 75% of the NHL, right? But I truly think that we may see like a Connor McDavid hit a 6 or 7 point night. He just had a 5-point night 2 days ago, so it's not out of the realm. But out of that group, it's McDavid by far. Matthews more than capable of doing it.
What if you get a guy, one of your teammates is having a night like that, and you're sitting there on the bench and you're chewing and you go, hey, by the way, how many points you got? 8. Yeah. It's called passing. I mean, whoa.
What?
That got away from me. Yes, it did.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Well, 4 of the points are passing.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yeah, 4 of them. Yeah.
It's time!
I'd like to thank those of you who joined us live on the broadcast. There was a lot to cover. I still think that crazy Falcon Heavy rocket ship going on, and it's like almost the size, a little bit bigger than the what's those ones that went up there and exploded? That one.
Yeah, I forget. I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name.
Yeah. It's better than that one.
Agreed. Don't sign me up for the other one.
I gotta say, it wouldn't take much to be better than that other one. Boy, what a science show this is, eh? I wrote my final exam in science in fake Chinese.
I think Discovery Channel may pick up this segment of the show.
Apologies today to the Mandarin.